Good morning. It's Monday, July 27th. Sorry about the confusion last week. I had my days off, so I said the wrong date. But I hope you guys are doing well this morning, and we look forward to a good week. So I'm always happy to connect with you, and I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about this week. Hopefully most of you have watched the York Alliance Weekly, and Kristen and I were able to give a really great update, an exciting announcement of some things that are happening in our lives. So that brings me to the mug that I'm going to share with you today. So this mug is a York College mug, and Zach Rebuck, who lives with us, him and his wife Katie live with us, gave me this mug. And I was like, that's perfect, Zach. I'm going to need this mug in a few months for Coffee Cup Conversations. So I'm excited to tell you about this little journey. Actually, it's been a long journey that God has brought Jonas and I on, and it's not over yet. But there are some significant pieces that are fitting together. So I kind of, as I was sitting and reflecting on this journey back to York, after living away for 25 years. I think when we arrived in York, we knew we were meant to be here. God had provided a way for us to make that big move from Colorado back to Pennsylvania, and He provided a place for us to live. And we knew that this house, Life House at 810, was a significant part of what God was going to bring together here in York for us to serve Him and to love others. And so that's about all that we knew. We didn't have jobs lined up. And so when we arrived, it almost felt like we had this puzzle and we dumped all the pieces on the table. And it was exciting. We kind of felt like God gave us this picture, like the outside of the puzzle box. But man, we were having a hard time. Have you ever gotten a puzzle and trying to work on it with your kids? And maybe once they get older, the little ones are easier to put together. But I actually tried to put a puzzle together with my daughter, Amy. She's great at puzzles. And it was like all these fall leaves. And anyway, I sat there and felt like good for nothing because I just couldn't get pieces to come together. So I kind of felt when we first arrived, like there were lots of pieces. We sorted things out and kind of looked at what we had to work with. But we began to find about some challenges about the housing policy at York College and some challenges there. And so just one thing after another. But then, God is faithful, and we've really learned to have to just press into Him and let Him bring the pieces together. But that's kind of hard sometimes, I'll admit it. And I'm sure that you guys can relate to that. So fast forwarding, I started working at the church in February of 2016 and began to build relationships. And I think that's one puzzle piece that came together quickly. It's going to take time, and it's all about being genuine and building friendships and relationships and trusting God. And so some days that was easy, and we celebrated with new connections and the ways that we got to begin working with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship as volunteers, which allowed us to build friendships and connections with college students. My job at the church allowed us to plug into York Alliance a little closer and get to know people, build friendships, build relationships, and begin to piece things together. But it was slow. And sometimes I know I get impatient and I just want to pack all the puzzle pieces up and wait for another time. But we were invested. We were in far enough that we needed to just put one foot in front of the other and trust God to continue bringing things together in His timing. And so celebrating so many neat things, the way that I got to know Kristen through Thrive and her volunteering with children's ministry, her and Rob, and realizing that we really clicked and worked well together, and she really offered and was so capable of helping me in my weak spots. And it was a neat friendship, and I could just encourage her in her faith journey and vice versa. So then in the fall, it was like God brought that piece together with the fact that she mentioned she was going to be needing to go back to work once Robbie started kindergarten. And one thing led into another. So she began in January working as an assistant for 10 hours a week. That was awesome. And then in February, I had this moment where God really put the significant puzzle piece together for me and said, I want you to consider going on staff with InterVarsity. And it was exciting and scary all at the same time, because working for InterVarsity it's a nonprofit, and it is like being a missionary. You have to raise your own support and trust God. But I had the confidence to know that He was speaking to me. I wasn't trying to make this up in my head or problem solve on my own. But it was a moment where I had to realize I needed to surrender and trust. And so through all of these interesting life events that have happened in 2020, it's just been overwhelming to watch God's timing come together and these awkward pieces begin to really fit. So in March, I interviewed with InterVarsity for a part-time campus minister position for York College. That's where the MugFit comes in. And that's where we had been volunteers for the last 4.5 years. And so anyway, little did I know that Andrew, who was the campus minister here that we worked with, was taking a promotion as the area director. And so at the same time, but I didn't know that. And so it worked as a neat confirmation for the two of us. So I'm just celebrating, because as we move forward into the fall, I'm so looking forward to having Kristen add another 10 hours, and I'm going to be backing my hours down to 20 hours at the church. But I'm still going to continue with my passion and love for children, love for families, love for encouraging parents, and the vision that God has given me for the Greenhouse Children's Ministry. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited that I'm going to have more margin in my life to really focus on and build relationships with and disciple college students here at York College, and eventually probably over at Penn State York campus. So God is good and He's so faithful, and I just am really appreciating getting to this part of the puzzle, because it's like, okay, it's making sense, it's coming together. So how does this impact you guys? I think I would love to just challenge you to listen to God's voice, and if He puts something on your heart, be willing to say, yes, Lord, and be patient, because sometimes it doesn't happen quickly. If He's given you a promise, if He's called you to something, you continue to move forward in that and trust. And it's a wonderful journey. It can be a frustrating journey, but it is a wonderful journey. It fills our hearts with peace and joy. I lived for 5 years outside of God's plan, kind of trying to do life my way, and I was miserable. And I remember that, and I don't want to be anywhere other than in the center of God's plan and His will. And so I'm thanking Him for the ways that He is just orchestrating all of this, and look forward to what He has in the future for children's ministry, as well as with the ministry at InterVarsity. So thanks for your prayers, and know that I am praying for each one of you, and you're doing a great job as moms and dads, as co-laborers here, as we study on each day. May we be instruments of God's love and His peace. And so thanks for your listening ear. Have a blessed week, and thanks so much.